I want to start this video off today with one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite authors, Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich. Quote, "You can influence, direct, and control your environment. You can make your life what you want it to be." How does this tie into retirement? Stick around, let's find out. Hello once again, and welcome to another video from One Up Financial. I am your host, Eric Persagna, here to help you increase income, reduce taxes, and invest smarter in retirement. What I wanted to do today in this video was kind of talk a little bit about something that I've been thinking a lot about, something that's really kind of helped me cope with all the stress and the anxiety that went on last year. And it's a phrase that I always think about when I start to feel anxiety, and that is focus on what you can control. I know that has helped me and my family kind of get through 2020, and it's always helped me in times of stress and anxiety just to kind of take a step back and really focus on, is this something that I can control? And if it's not, I try not to worry about it. As I was thinking about this though, I think there are a lot of parallels between just life, like what you can control in life, as there are with retirement, right? So I've worked with hundreds of different types of clients throughout my career, and I've seen a lot of successful retirement plans. I've seen some that aren't very successful. But when I looked at all of that, I tried to kind of boil it down to say, okay, what are the key components of making a successful retirement? And then within those components, what are the ones that are within our control? And what are the ones that aren't within our control? So I started to think about that and then realized that there's also kind of this middle area, this gray area, where you might not necessarily be able to control, but you might be able to manage. What I wanted to do today in this video is run through some of those key components that I feel make a successful retirement and break them down based on what you can control, what can be managed, and what is completely out of your control. Number one, so let's start with what is in your control, some of the components that lead to a successful retirement. Number one, your spending and your saving, right? Living within your means. I've had clients with $5 million in their portfolio who are spending $750,000 a year. I've had other clients that have $1 million portfolio and they spend $42,369, including taxes. Both have very different outcomes, obviously, in their retirement plan. So remember that you are in charge and you are in control of what comes in and what goes out of your account. And that can lead to a very successful retirement if you manage it correctly. Number two, your investment strategy. Now you might not think that this is within your control because there's so many differing opinions out there, stock recommendations, mutual funds, ETFs, what's the right thing for you to be doing? Well, really at the end of the day, you are the one that gets to dictate who you hire to manage your investments. If you hire anyone, you get to determine how much risk you want to take, stocks, bonds, how you want to invest, mutual funds, ETFs. It is entirely your call at the end of the day. So it's helpful to be well informed before you make some of these important decisions. So knowing what the difference is between a broker and a fiduciary and a mutual fund and an ETF, just some of those basic things. It's always good to know that because really at the end of the day, you are the one that dictates your investment strategy. You have complete control over who you hire to manage your money and how your money is invested. Number three, what you can control, kind of in line with that investment strategy, are the fees that you're paying to have your money managed, right? So whether you hire a broker or a fiduciary, or whether you decide to use all ETFs or all actively managed mutual funds or all stocks, or if you decide to use a robo-advisor, each one of those different types of products and services has different types of fees associated with each one of those. And just like how you can control what you spend, what goes out of your checking account, you can control what goes out of your investment account to pay for those investment products and services. So again, it pays to be well informed, it pays to know the differences between those different products and services, but you control how much goes out of your investment account. Number four, this one is not necessarily financial related, but I do think you can exert a lot of control over this. And what I was reminded of when I thought about this was a quote from Warren Buffett. So I'll read it. Quote, "Basically, when you get to my age, you'll really measure your success in life by how many of the people you want to have loved you actually do love you." I literally couldn't have said this any better myself. This all just comes down to, I think, the relationships that we have in retirement. Most advisors really don't talk about this component of retirement, but I think it's extremely important, because if you don't have anyone to share all that time that you're going to be spending in retirement with, then really what's it all worth, right? And just remember, you have control over picking up the phone and calling your mom or your dad who you haven't talked to in a while because you've been too busy, or calling an old college buddy, or joining a social club, or making conversations with a stranger at Starbucks. I mean, you have control over how much you put into some of the relationships that you have. And really, if you do it right, you're going to have a lot of time on your hands in retirement. So it's good to make sure that you're maximizing and enhancing those relationships. So next tier, right? Kind of went through what we can control. Now let's focus on, in retirement, what can be managed. So not necessarily within our control, but we can have some influence over some of these components. Number one, investment risk. So as much as we'd like to completely eliminate risk in our portfolios, it's not going to happen unless you're able to sit in cash and you've accumulated a massive amount of money and you don't necessarily spend a lot. You're going to need to have some type of return on your money in retirement. And in order to get that, if you're investing in the stock market, you need to take some risk. But while risk can't be completely eliminated, it can be managed or reduced. And by that, I just mean diversification, right? So how much money do you have in stocks versus bonds? How much do you have in international versus domestic, or real estate, or mid cap, or small cap? There are different types of asset classes that if you spread your money around the right way, you'll reduce your risk, your overall risk, and you'll still get a positive return on your portfolio over the long term. So that's something that you can't quite eliminate or control, but risk is definitely something that you can manage. The second piece of what you can manage is your tax situation. So there's two certainties in life, right? Death and taxes. Taxes are completely unavoidable no matter what, unless we have some complete overhaul within our government. We're gonna have to pay taxes every single year, more than likely for the rest of our life. But if we do the appropriate tax planning and we implement certain strategies now, there are things that we can do to help save money on taxes and potentially reduce them. And that's a critical component of living a long retirement, is being able to reduce the amount of taxes that are going out and have more income, more money to spend on the things that you want. But that all starts with being intentional and having a tax strategy that's consistent with the investment strategy that you decide. Third component of what we can manage is our health and wellness. Just like with anything in life, the more you put into something, the more you get out. I'm no doctor, I'm no dietitian, but I have family members who are doctors and dietitians. And from what I can gather, the more you exercise, the healthier that you eat, the more you keep your mind stimulated and interested in books and hobbies. Those are all positive things that are going to contribute to you living a longer life. If you don't have your health, then really what is left? And you can't necessarily control if and when you get a disease or when you die, but you can do certain things now to make sure that what you're putting into your body is good and leads to a longer life. Fourth component of what we can manage is time. And this is something that I fall victim to myself when I hear myself say, I just don't have time for that. I don't have time. I can't do this. There's no time for it. Well, what you're really saying, or what I'm saying, is when I don't have time is that I haven't made it a priority. So we all have the same 24 hours in every single day. And time is one of the most, if not the most, valuable assets on the planet. You can't buy any more of it, no matter how much money you have. So when we talk about time as a component of retirement, it's something I think that we really ought to pay attention to, because assuming you get to that retirement age, you're going to have, if you've done a good job saving and structuring things the right way, you're going to have a lot more time on your hands. So just be sure that you're spending that time wisely and you're managing that time wisely. Last piece, right? Last section. These are some of the components that I think we often first think about when we hear retirement, but they're completely out of our control. Number one, the stock market. So just going back to 2020, there was nothing you could do to control the market dropping 40% in a matter of a month and a half when COVID-19 hit the world. There was nothing you could do when the market completely recovered and has been going up ever since March 23rd of 2020. There is absolutely nothing you can do to control what happens in the stock market or the bond market. I see a lot of people worry and get concerned about, well, what happens if the stock market crashes? It's going to. Trust me, it'll happen again. I don't know if it'll be this year, but the stock market will crash again. Have a good plan in place and make sure you're doing things that are within your control and what you can manage, because the stock market is not one of them. Third thing that is completely out of your control is fiscal and monetary policy. All I really mean by that is what our governments enact as far as tax laws and other things that affect the economy in our world. I've seen it in client meetings, I've heard it for family dinners, I've seen it on CNN. People just complaining and stressing and being so concerned over a potential rise in the capital gains tax rate or the government investing in clean and renewable energy, whatever it might be. I think there's a difference between engaging in thoughtful conversations about what's going on in the world and losing your mind and losing your cool over something that you have absolutely no control over whatsoever. Just think about that the next time that you hear something on the news about some new tax law or what the government is doing with your tax dollars. It's good to be informed, it's good to know what's going on, but don't lose any sleep over it. And the last piece that is not within your control is the unknown. And I think the unknown is one of the scariest things on the planet, maybe clowns. But for me, the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, is extremely, extremely scary and can cause a lot of anxiety. And tying that back to retirement, just think about all the unknowns that you have when you retire. What if you have to go into a nursing home? Or what if you lose all of your money in the stock market? What if you have to go get a job as a greeter at Walmart because you've spent all of your money and there's nothing left? Those are real concerns, right? And they're all based on this unknown that you really have no control over. There are so many different types of what ifs out there and so many unknowns that it can cause a lot of stress. There's really nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can control. You can't affect what happens tomorrow. But one of the things you can do is have a good plan in place today that takes into consideration some of those most pressing what ifs that are keeping you up at night, so that you're planning, so that you're prepared for the unknown and if some of those what ifs occur. So bottom line, just kind of tying this all up together, there are always going to be things in retirement that are going to be within your control, within your management, and then things that are completely out of control. So I would just say that the next time you start to feel anxiety or stress about something, whether it be your health or the stock market or your finances, just take a quick step back and ask yourself, is this something that I can control? Can I have a direct impact and influence 100% over what's keeping me up at night? Then take it a step further and ask yourself, is this something that I can be managing better? If the answer to any of those two questions is yes, then maybe it's time to make a change and put something in place. Put an action plan in place, whatever that might be. Anything that's really outside of your control or outside of your management is not something that you should be losing sleep over or wasting peace of mind on. Just wanted to thank you again for watching this video. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay up to date with everything that OneUp Financial is doing, please subscribe to our blog at oneupfinancial.com. Follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever else that you get your news. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next one.